Just want to see what my camera is right now. I don't know if someone moved it. It looks a little out of place. Ow. Mm. Let me just put this up on my Discord, and then we'll get started. As well as the mega old man thing using the Facebook. Okay. I think that's everything. Now it's too dark once the brightness of the screen wears off. Because now I have like, you know, nighttime setting kind of thing. Anyway, hello and welcome to the Stream Parson podcast. And today, I'm not really going to talk about a lot. I mean, I'm just going to kind of lay out my hopes for December come 2021 and, you know, how we can wrap up this year and go out with a bang and then move on to 2022 because, you know, it's 2022 already. It's weird to think that, but I mean, that's the matter of fact, right? But with that said, I'm hoping that, you know, we'll have a good Christmas season this year. Of course, this video will mostly be like announcements and stuff because we are going to change some stuff on the channel. A little bit, just a little bit. Just really just going back to playing some games on the channel because I took a couple months off. As I, you know, started doing more full-time work, I started a full-time position come like, it was like September. It was actually like closer to October, honestly. But I technically got the position in September, and then it didn't actually happen till October. But that's besides the point. And so because of that, it was a lot harder to find, you know, to organize my time better. And of course, the other problems, I was always tired to do streams and stuff like that. And that's just the way it is. But, you know, starting this Wednesday, I do hope to start playing games on the channel again, like in a stream format, not just my Throwback Thursday videos, which I'm hoping you guys are enjoying because, you know, Heroes My Magic 2 is always a fun game to play for me. Even though it's like, maybe some you younger guys watching it is like, man, this is like mega boomer. I don't know. I think you guys probably think that. Maybe you guys don't think that, but I think you think that. But with that said, I'm hoping you guys are enjoy just, you know, I hope you guys are enjoying Heroes, but I'm gonna play other stuff on the channel. December we won't do like an actual Let's Play or anything like that, or like a stream playthrough. We won't be doing exactly that in December. We'll just play some like little offshoots here and there just to get back into the motion. But we will still start pretty early. Wednesday, Wednesday stream will start around like 3 o'clock Pacific time. When I start doing an actual playthrough of a game, we'll start early, even earlier. We'll go like 2 o'clock even on Wednesdays. And then of course, however long it takes me to finish Heroes 2 for the Throwback Thursday, we'll stop Throwback Thursdays for a while because, I've been doing Throwback Thursday videos for a while now, right? And so we'll stop doing that. We'll take a break from Throwback Thursdays and use Wednesday, Thursdays for stream days and do a playthrough. And so that's one of the bigger change backs, I guess you could say, that we're going to be doing on this channel. And then, of course, I do want to be a little bit more like ambitious isn't really the right word for it, but I am trying to contact some people I know for us to do like podcast topics together. For instance, I'm trying to find time with Taki to be on the channel. I really want him to be on here, and for him to be a pretty regular. But I know he's also busy with work, and afternoons can be kind of weird. So something we may change for the podcast format is I'll film the podcast won't be live. I'll film, well, some of them won't be. So I'll film them, like for example when I have to do like a discussion with Taki, for instance, and we'll film it on like a Saturday night or whatever, times that we actually have available for both of us. And then I will just premiere it on Mondays, if that makes sense. Like I'll upload on Monday and put it as a premiere kind of thing. So I would still be here to interact with you as, you watch the podcast video kind of thing, right? And so that's going to be a slight change to how the podcast will be done. They're not all going to be live like the first 10, well 11 now have been so far. Because of course, it's just the last number of times it's just me talking, like me talking you guys to the camera, right? So we're going to change that a little bit. And so there will be like half the podcast will be live like it is right now. And then half the time it'll be pre-recorded. And then I'll just premiere them on the following Monday kind of thing. So that's another change that we're going to do on the channel. And of course, I'm trying to find artists and pay them for putting an actual design on this channel as well, because I don't really have one, right? I don't really have one. So I think I want to change that and actually put an actual design on the channel, and I'm going to get some help with that. So I'm looking for that as well, to commission somebody. The thing that changes the least will be our Bible reading streams, which will still be on Fridays at 3 o'clock to 6 Pacific time. That part will probably stay the same. We are going to change, and I mentioned this multiple times already, we are going to change how we've been reading it. We're not going to be reading from the Old Testament, which I did all last year. But I'll just, read one of the gospel. I'll read one of the Gospels, read the Book of Acts, and then I'll read like a Paul letter, and that should basically take us to like summer at least. And then we'll figure out what to do for the rest of the year after that. So come January, I'll be reading the Book of Luke and the Book of Acts, or Luke Acts, as many scholars dub it as, like, a single volume kind of thing. So we'll read Luke Acts, we'll read probably the Book of Romans, and then we'll figure out what to do after that, right? But that part will mostly remain the same, right? Kind of like a on-camera Bible study kind of thing, which is kind of the format I've always done it, and it's always the format I'm more comfortable doing it as. So that's going to be how we move into January of the next year. But of course, I'm jumping a bit ahead. So for December, we will kind of do like a semi-Advent style. Bible reading streams on Fridays. I know this Friday we're technically going to skip the first Advent week because I still have to finish the Book of Kings, and we will finish it this week on Friday. So we'll technically skip the first Advent week, but them's the breaks, right? But we'll still do the other 3 weeks in an Advent format kind of thing. And that's going to be, our Bible reading streams are going to be pretty relaxed because it's just like, it's not an actual study for the next few Bible reads after we finish Kings. They'll just be like me reading in relation to Christmas, right? And so obviously one of the weeks will be like reading the birth of Christ story and stuff like that, and then other passages that are relevant to the birth of Christ kind of thing, the traditional Christmas readings, and I'll just do those on camera for you. And that's basically how the Bible reads will be for December. So they're going to be a lot more relaxed. They won't be that long. Like I know some of the Kings one is like 2.5 hours because I'm just like talking about all kinds of different things. But the Advent Bible read streams will be a lot more relaxed. And then of course with podcasts throughout December, we'll still do like, they're all going to be live basically. I'm not going to do the pre-recorded ones yet because that takes way more planning. Like just planning the first one is already taking a lot of work. So you get the idea, right? There's going to be a lot more work needed for that. So they'll still be more simple, like how we're doing it here. And I'll talk about various Christmas films and stuff like that, or whatever comes to mind for December podcasts. And so while we are gonna change a few things come January, December will be pretty relaxed, and I hope it's just a time that we could just kind of, hang out, drink some hot cocoa or whatever, because it's getting cold out and dark out, and uh, now that I've basically told you most of the announcement stuff, so I just want to talk about how, like, what's so sad? What's so sad? If you live in a place like I do, and like, I don't even live like super north, right? Like, I live in Canada, but I like live next to the border, so like, it's not that far north. But even when you're only in like the lower mainland, which is where Vancouver is, you're still on that part of the latitude of the globe where it gets dark really early in December. Like, it's so sad. Like, just look at this. Look at this. I'm gonna turn off the blue light, and you'll see that it's already dark outside at like 4:20 p.m. It's so sad. It's one of those things too that, like, I don't know if this is true for you. I mean, I assume this is true for most people, because I think there's some kind of placebo effect thing where, you know, I go to sleep at like, let's say I go to sleep at like 12 or 11, like the boomer I am. I don't, I mean, that's still pretty late for someone my age, but like, let's say I go to sleep like 11, between 11 and 12, right? And it's dark, right? It's dark out. Well, when I wake up at like 7 o'clock to go to work the next day, it's still dark out. It's just as dark as it was when I went to sleep. Excuse me. It's just as dark as when I went to sleep. And when you think of it like that, like, that's so depressing, right? Like, there's a good reason why, like, a lot of people think like December can be pretty depressing, right? Because I mean, one, there's the stress of Christmas, and of course, in the fiscal world, that's where, like, a lot of businesses want to make sure deadlines are hit. And that's one reason why actually Black Friday is set up the way it is, right? It's a cheater way to try and get certain projects done and filled out in the business, in the business world before the new year, right? There's that. And so there's stress of finishing like business work. There's also the stress of buying stuff like presents for it. Definitely, if you have like kids or something, that can be pretty stressful. And then, like, finally you have like it being, depending where you live, it being cold all the time, and cold and dark, which really can be demoralizing when it's like, having the motivation to do the other stuff that I just mentioned, right? Because it's not like in summer, right? And it's kind of funny. We're like, a lot of people use the summertime to take like a vacation kind of thing, even though like it's also the time where people are probably most motivated to be able to work because one, it's lighter out, it's warmer out, so you're not always exhausted because I think part of it too. I mean, it's not just I think this is probably factually true, but like part of it is that like for example when you go to sleep at night, right? And assuming you don't crank up the heat at night because you want to save power, we want to be not cranking up that electric bill, but you sleep with like the heat on the lower setting, right? Which means when you're sleeping, your body isn't restoring as much energy because your body's actually using a fair amount to keep yourself warm while you sleep, right? It's not like in the summertime where your body may have to use some energy to cool yourself off, but that takes way less energy than it is to like actually, stay warm in the wintertime, right? It's like that whole old semi myth of like it takes more muscles to frown than it is to smile, but that depends on the smile and the frown, right? Because if you're like a real frowner, then that actually takes way more muscles than like smiling. But if you're one of those like Joker smile people, then like that takes a lot of muscles too. But you get the idea, right? Like it takes more muscles to smile, or sorry, it takes more muscles to frown than it is to smile. And in the same way, it takes way more energy to keep yourself warm at night when it's winter than it is to like keep just try and cool yourself off when it's warmer out. If you're getting what I'm laying down kind of thing, right? So I think that's another reason why a lot of people are like less motivated when it comes to like especially work when it comes wintertime because since you have to keep yourself warmer at night and that's not as easy, unless you decide to pay a lot of money for cranking up the electric bill by turning up the heat, usually you're gonna actually get a lot less rest. And I think I find that, definitely true in my case. Like, I came home and I was so tired. I was so tired during the work day today. I was just like, dude, I'm just ready to drop dead. Oh, wait, I should probably do like my podcast thing and just talk about stuff. And I, I kind of, I was tempted not to do it. And that's actually the reason why I was late because I was like thinking, I was like, man, should I actually do this? Like, I'm already like late. No, I should do it. I should be here and be here for you guys kind of thing, right? And so, but that comes from like me being super tired, right? And I think a large portion of that was like, since it's cold out and it's always dark out, especially like, it's one of those other things too. When you live up here in the north, if you live in like Florida, you may not notice it as much, but here you definitely notice it, right? Where like, if I when it's dark when I go to sleep, and it's dark when I wake up, I go to work when the light comes out, but when I leave work, it's already dark again, right? Well, when you work 8 hours, right? Because actually, well, we're not in the shortest day of the year yet because that's December 21st. You know, when we're at the when the when the Earth tilts a certain way, and it's Vancouver's furthest from the sun on the 21st of December. And on the 21st of December, I shit you not, like it will be light out at 8:30 in the morning. Like it's dark until 8:30 in the morning. But the sun will start, it'll start getting dark again, like at around 4 o'clock, like it is now, right? Like right now, it's not quite dark out. When I say like it's dark out, I don't mean like this little bit of like right now it's still like the sun is setting, mode. But come December 21st, it will actually be like dark outside, like nighttime, right? So it'll be like from like 8:30 in the morning, almost 9, and then till like only 4 in the afternoon. You go to work a regular work day, you do like a 9 to 5 job. Well, that's the entire time the light is out. You go into work dark and you leave work while it's dark. That can be so depressing. At least I think it is. Like I'm not exactly a night owl, but I'm not exactly a morning person either. So it's like, how would I put it? Like, I don't mind staying up a little bit in the sense that I'm a night owl in that sense. But at the same time, I do like it to be light outside, right? That's why summer is awesome actually around here too, right? Because in the summertime, I'm pretty sure I brought this up at some point. Maybe I talked about it, maybe I didn't. But like in the summertime, it'll be like, well, once you account for daylight savings as well, which shifts how our perspective of time and all that. But in the summertime, it would be like the sun's out at like 6, but then the sun doesn't set till like almost 10, right? And so like that's the one thing I really like about summer though, because like, oh, it's always light out, and so like if I want to take like an evening stroll, it's not you know it's actually kind of cathartic, right? Whereas like right now, it's like if I anytime I go outside that isn't related to work, it's gonna be pitch black outside, and so just I don't know. Me being like complaining about like how weird it is where I live. I live in a weird place. You just kind of have to accept that Canada itself is a weird place. It's why all the Americans make up all these myths about the exotic land that is Canada, even though in actuality Canada's not that different from most places in the States. It actually really isn't. It actually really isn't. I mean, it depends. I guess it depends on what part of Canada too, right? Because on the West Coast where I live, it's really it's really not that different from like if you go to Seattle or like Oregon, and then you look at Vancouver and it's like basically exactly the same. Well, not exactly the same, but you get what I mean, right? It's more or less the same, right? And so, okay, someone was just texting me about something, but anyway, it it's not that different. But like if you go toward like, well, there's Quebec. Let's just point out Quebec, right? The elephant in the room, right? Quebec is totally different than like the rest of Canada, let alone the rest of the world, right? Quebec is like its own thing, right? And that's one reason why they want to be their own, sovereign nation, like their own country, basically. Although the Quebec, you know, a lot of the Quebec, the Bloc Quebec, that's what they're actually called. Yeah, there you go. They know that like, well, they're gonna get screwed because they'll lose a lot of like benefits that they get from being part of like, you know, Canada, right? A lot of like tax protections and stuff like that, and they would lose all that. And that's the reason why like even though Quebec talks the talk about like we're gonna split off and do our own thing, they never actually do it because in the long run it would totally screw them over, right? And most people in Quebec know that they're not that stupid to not know that, right? But it is one of those funny things to think about. Because yeah, Quebec is it's its own does its own thing most of the time, right? And it's one of those things where like it's been a long time since I was last in Quebec. Like I've only ever been to Quebec once, and that was like after high school because I went for like we did like a post high school road trip. Some of my friends and I back in high school when that was a thing. Before some of you might even be alive because I'm a fossil. But like I'm pretty. I mean, I don't know if it's the same now, but like a lot of people say like it's kind of the same. Like people who've been there more recently, they're like, oh yeah, you know, a lot of French Canadians they act like, oh, you've got to be like French when you're in Quebec. You got to speak French, and I'm like, dude, my French sucks. Like my high school French back then wasn't that great, and now probably way worse because I haven't retained any of that. So yeah, I would not survive in Quebec for very long. But apparently Quebec is still that like very elitist, you know, oh ho ho, French Canadian, right? And of course, there's the whole meme about like everybody hates their hockey team, the Montreal Canadiens, right? And I mean, I always made like the joke was I never liked the Vancouver Canucks, despite living in Vancouver. But then and so whenever like my family or my friends are watching like hockey game, they're like cheering for the Canucks, and I always cheer for the other team, except when it's the Montreal Canadiens. They're the exception to that rule of me like pissing people off. So I was like, I'm always at like that worst conundrum when it's like, crap, it's the Canucks versus the Canadiens. I don't know who to boo, right? Can't boo them both at the same time. That would just be like me being a massive hater of hockey in general, which, to be fair, I'm not exactly the hugest fan of hockey. I know, weird, right? You think, oh, he's Canadian, he's gotta love hockey, right? But like, it's the same. I mean, thinking like that's the same thing as thinking like, oh, you're over 6 feet tall. Did you play basketball in school? Which, for the record, I only played for 1 year, and then I didn't like it. I didn't like I didn't like committing time to sports. I ended up joining the theater club in my school because theater was just awesome. I don't know. I really like theater, and honestly, that's the thing that's carried a lot more, right? It's like my love for theater, and that's one thing. Talking about theater, and we're going to transition to something that has nothing to do with December. But one thing I'm hoping for, come the new year, right? As more people are getting vaccinated and all that, and all the, how do you put it, the sanctions of like, okay, you have to be vaccinated for this and that, whatever. And they're going to start laxing on that because enough people will be vaccinated. The hope is, there's like theater stuff and like plays will be back, right? Like, sure, there are some here and there, but they're one hella expensive because it's only like the top ones. But like, for example, where I live in Vancouver, Vancouver has this like special kind of theater thing going on, and it's called Bard on the Beach, and it happens at like near the water near English Bay. That's a place in Vancouver, by the way, English Bay. I know I just said that, and I'm like, wait, you might not know what that is. So like, English Bay is basically this place in like the. So now I have to teach you some Vancouver lingo. So in Vancouver, we have like our downtown Vancouver, right? And then you have like, well, so when people say downtown Vancouver, they mean like downtown proper. Because technically, there's like the downtown east side, and that's like the slums. But when people say like downtown Vancouver, they're referring to like not the east side, but you move more west, closer to the water, and you get what is called, the Vancouver downtown or downtown proper. And downtown proper has a bunch of these beaches. There's English Bay, there's a Spanish beach. It's weird that we have a bunch of beaches named after languages. And then like there's a couple other like Kitsilano Beach and a few other places. And so at English Bay, which is one of these beaches, they have Shakespearean theater there, and it's called Bard on the Beach. And I haven't gone in like 3 years. So the year before COVID started, and then 2 years because of COVID, right? I've been gone for 3 years, but I absolutely, well, one, because tickets are hella expensive, right? Like you get the low end tickets, and that's still like, you know, $30 a ticket. So obviously you don't go by yourself, right? So you pay like $60 for a pair, and that's like the low tier, right? If you want to do like the experience though, which I recommend doing at least once if you ever come to Vancouver in the summertime, and you got to check out Bard on the Beach. And even to my fellow Vancouver locals, right? You got to do Bard on the Beach at least once, and you got to do the experience once, right? Where like you watch, the main feature, because on Bard on the Beach they'll do like four different plays. I think they do 4 plays at a time. So they have or maybe it's just three. I think it's three plays that they'll have going on in a given season or summertime. Right? No, it's four. It's four. It is four because they'll do two for the first half of the summer, and then they'll do two for the second half. That's how it goes. Okay, I remember now. And so usually they'll have the major one and the minor one, right? And the major one would be like often when they do the Macbeth plays or the Hamlet plays, right? They do the more well-known ones, the Romeo Juliet, and it get whatever one they pick. And then they'll usually do a minor one. So when I say like a low tier ticket, I'm talking about like the weak seats or the crappier seats in like the minor play, and that would cost you $30 a ticket, which some people may. I know some of you might be automatically turned off by that because you're like, oh my god, 30. That the lowest is $30. How expensive can this get? Well, I'll tell you how expensive it can get. So there'll be like a special feature kind of thing. It's like they treat it like it's a straight up party, and it is a party. You're at the place for like 5 hours. Okay, so like first they do a dinner. You get like a proper dinner, not like some takeout thing like they cook and stuff. And you get like it's more or less a barbecue. You have a barbecue before the play. You have a barbecue, and then you get the play. And this is the major play, right? The big ones that I mentioned earlier. You get the major play. So you have the barbecue, you get the major play, and then you have an after party of like wine and cheese. Now, once I say wine and cheese, this ain't gonna be cheap. So this kind of like Barn on the Beach experience, which I recommend you try at least once. You gotta do it at least once in your life. If you live in Vancouver, you gotta do it at least once. I've only ever done it once, but back then, I didn't make as much money, and my mom got really mad I spent so much money on this. But I might do it again, when like this COVID thing comes to an end. I was like, oh, okay, we gotta do the experience, right? And it ended up. I think it cost like $120 a ticket, right? Of course, that pays for the dinner, that pays for going to the play. Seats may vary, but I think it's kind of like one charge. I think there's like a even higher, like the top tier is like the front and center kind of seats, right? And those come up to like $130. But I don't think there's a big range between the seating prices. But like, you get the barbecue, you get the play, and you get wine and cheese after the show, and it costs you about $120 to $130 per ticket, right? So it's like not something you would. I mean, you can make it the most crazy ass date night ever, right? Well, not ever, but you get the idea. It'd be a crazy ass date night. Just chuck through $250, for you and your date to go to the Shakespearean experience. But yeah, I did that once. But I mean, $250 is a lot of money, right? But it's something you should definitely check out especially to my fellow Vancouver locals. If you haven't ever done it, you should do it at least once. It's pretty great. I mean, once again, I know there's my bias because I actually like Shakespeare. I like Shakespearean plays quite a bit. I really enjoy them. So, the play alone is already like, yeah, I would chuck a fair amount of money to watch a Shakespeare play, right? But not everybody's me, and not everybody's willing to throw down that kind of money. But come 2022, I'm hoping I'll be able to do something like that. Maybe this whole like COVID thing will chill out. We'll finally get through it, guys. We just gotta believe, right? We gotta make it through, and we won't have to deal with what's the word I'm thinking of, the quarantine as much, right? And be as strict like we have to be right now. I'm hoping that will be a lot more lax. And come summer 2022, I'm really hoping like Barn on the Beach, I'm going, right? Hell, I might even do the experience just because like of like a celebration of getting out of COVID, right? Like that's how much you get. I mean, can you believe there's already been 2 years since like COVID was a thing? Well, technically the lockdowns didn't start till like March. So we're not 2 years from the lockdowns, but we're 2 years since COVID was a thing, right? it's so weird to think that like, and I mean, I go back to my time is weird video, but like, it's so weird to think that it's already been like over 2 years since COVID was a thing. Well, not over 2 years, just roughly 2 years. I think the whole like the the word of it was around that like COVID was a thing, and I think that was December in 2019. I actually remember because I went to Japan that year. This was obviously because once again lockdown didn't come down until March of 2020, but in December of 2019 when I went to Japan, they were actually already changing some of the stuff that was done at the airports because they had to check people in case people might have picked up COVID from somewhere, especially if you went to like a place that's not known for like um this sounds so terrible, but like if you came from like a third world country kind of place, right, where people, and of course China as well, right, where COVID supposedly came from. And if you had come from one of those places, they actually had two separate lineups. If you were in any of these places, like places in Africa, China, and so on, you must go through this special lineup, and they were doing COVID checks. Of course, at the time, I didn't really think about it back then, because once again, COVID was just like they were just talking about it, but it wasn't really like it didn't become the pandemic that it is now, right? And even then, like even now, it's kind of dying down a little bit. Some places, most places already have like, good rotation of the vaccine and all that. So the hysteria is dying down a little bit. But I hope in 2022, we'll finally be out of that nightmare and be able to do stuff like, for example, bar on the beach, right? I know I'm in this whole thing talking about them because, like, talk about like summer and how summer is just the nice things about summer as opposed to like winter, especially when you're in a place like Vancouver. Okay, we're coming back to the main topic, right? And even though, like, yeah, December sucks for those reasons, because I'll tell you, December is not my favorite month. I'll tell you that much. It's actually one of my least favorites. My least favorite month of the year actually is like January, because, and I've mentioned this a little bit before. I think I talked about it briefly in my other video when I was telling stories about like my hope for no snow in Vancouver. And this is super weird, right? Because like when you watch a Christmas movie and everybody like in a Christmas movie, for example, it's like, oh, the snow's coming, that's a Christmassy thing, right? But how it really is like, nah, the snow comes after Christmas most of the time in Vancouver. It usually comes in January. And I already told you my nightmare story of digging a guy out of a ditch because he drove over a hump of snow and didn't know there was a ditch there. And why are you driving this truck in a residential area, buddy? But like, he digging himself out of this ditch, and it just reminds me how much I hate snow. And every time I think I have to recollect that memory, it just reminds me how much I hate snow. But in actuality, around here, like, it doesn't start snowing till like January, and then those nightmares start happening, and then of course the nightmares carry on to like February as well, right? Because the snow from January hasn't gone away yet, right? And then of course the worst part is because in any city, right, people obviously drive over stuff, and then you get the mud slush, and that's the worst shit ever, right? Like everybody hates mud slush, but nobody ever does anything about it. As a matter of fact, everybody's just part of the. More people just like to contribute to the problem more than the solution of mud slush. But dude, everybody hates mud slush. It's just like so nasty and stuff like that, and then like everywhere becomes slippery because people track mud slush everywhere. Like that's why January sucks so much, right? Like one thing I'm doing just straight up, and I hope to do like, and it would be a good time to actually springboard all my January stream and video projects. Well, mostly streams because once again, the only real video series is just the Heroes 2 Let's Play, right? But I'm hoping to really spring off, you know, the January game streams that we're gonna do, because I'm actually taking the first 2 weeks of January off work. Or at least I'm hoping to, right? I have to get it approved first from my supervisor. But I mean, come on, for like I've been working for like this place for like 9 months almost. So I've been working 9 months, and then like I went through that whole thing of like, okay, getting promoted, but not really promoted. It's more like just switching positions from like the part time to the full time. That's the more accurate way of looking at it. I've been at this place for like 9 months, and so I'm hoping like, okay, 9 months. Come on, guys, I've been here like every day for 9 months, and so I gotta take a 2 weeks vacation for this year, right? Even though technically it'll be the start of 2022, it will be my 2 weeks for 2021. And so I'm definitely I'm gonna take advantage of that. And so early January, we're gonna kick off, some stream stuff, and that's gonna be a grand old time. And also the other thing too is just like I don't really want to be working in like January, because like imagine how shitty it would be, where like, remember my horror story of the guy getting stuck in the ditch that I told you and how bad it was. I think what stream did I talk about that one on? I think it was like 3 weeks, 2 3 weeks ago, something like that. It wasn't that long ago. It was a couple podcasts ago, but I mean, considering how many videos I do on this channel, I can lose track of when I did anything. But imagine like that in that horror story, the guy only got out of that ditch because I was here. Let's be real, right? Because I was here was the only, like, you can call it a divine intervention, right? Like, if I wasn't there, like, that guy would have been so screwed because no one would have helped him, and he would have been there forever, right? And then he would have to have called like a service, and that would have cost him money, and that would have given him a bad day and everything, right? Besides the point. But now that I'm, working full time, and if I was working in January, well, I might still be, depending if I get my 2 weeks off or not, of 2 weeks approved and whatnot. But imagine if, like, okay, so I'm not around, and if a guy came to the door, because my house is the closest one to the ditch, well, actually it isn't. There's actually another house. Remember when I showed you that diagram? There's the alleyway, and then on the other side of the alleyway, there's a house that's technically close to the ditch, if you're going to be super technical about it. But let's be real, like, I don't know those neighbors very well, and all I know is that they have that stupid ass annoying dog that's always yipping every time you walk by their house, and the dog never stops. But like, I doubt they would dig someone out of a ditch, right? And I doubt any of the neighbors across the street, all these old Chinese people that live in my neighborhood, uh, they wouldn't dig a guy out of the ditch. And the guy who's growing out weed down the street. Yes, there's a guy who grows weed here, um, on my block. That's why my block actually stinks like a lot, because it's straight up a dude like growing and smoking weed all the time. Like, I doubt that guy would dig a truck out of a ditch, right? So, imagine if I'm not around. I mean, I anticipate I have to do it, right? So another good reason to take off a couple weeks in January is like to just prepare myself for that kind of thing, right? Because I mean, if it snows in January, I expect it, right? I mean, I'm hopeful that it doesn't snow, but climate change exists, so it's gonna snow. That's just how it is, right? Climate change is a thing, and so it's gonna snow. It's gonna snow in January. I'm gonna hate it. I'll tell you that now, right? We're still a month and we're just over a month away, and I already know. So just kind of have to deal with it. But I'm hoping to get a couple weeks off work so that I can be here if anything like that happens. And of course, kicking off a couple, well, the next game playthrough, right, on stream. And so that's kind of how we're gonna do things in January. But I'm hoping December will be good. I hope it doesn't snow too much in December, if at all. Please don't snow at all in December. I mean, I expect it in January, but I'm hoping that like it doesn't snow in December because that would suck. And it would, I mean, sure, there's other things you could still do, but like one of the things we wouldn't be able to do is like a family gathering if it snows because, well, one, and I mentioned this in my other podcast, and another reason why I really don't want it to snow would be like, okay, so one of my cousins is pregnant, right? And so if it does snow, there's no way we're having our family gathering, right? Because that would be a lot of risky traversing through snow, right? And you don't want to go through all that trouble, especially when you're pregnant for family gatherings, as great as family gatherings are, you know, being safe and not getting boned by the snow is probably better. So, but I'm hoping it's snow in December. That's one hope. And then, just to recap, another hope is that, people aren't so COVID hysteria still. Because, I mean, I think enough of us have the vaccine, right? So it's not going to be a big deal. It shouldn't be a big deal anymore. And of course, work is going to get tight for me, so we'll see how tired I am in certain videos. Like, you'll tell I filmed my Throwback Thursday video earlier today, which is, I don't know why I didn't just take a nap, but I also don't have time the rest of this week to do it because normally I would have been filming it on Wednesday in the afternoon, but this Wednesday we're playing a game on the channel again, right? So I don't have time to film Throwback Thursday on Wednesday where I would normally do it, and so I was filming it just earlier, and you can tell I was like so tired of that video. I even missed my like hashtag Throwback Thursday, and then I was too lazy to edit it, and I'm like, I don't feel like it. It's too much work. But hopefully, if there was anything I would like for Christmas, it's an abstract thing, but it's just to not be so tired all the time. Because you can tell, right? You can tell I'm tired all the time. It's just part of being old. That's just how it is, That's what being an old man's all about. It's just being tired and complaining about being tired. That's the life of us old guys, right? You young. That's why the young fear becoming old, right? It's like, oh no, I don't want to just be a person who complains about being old and complains about being tired all the time. I mean, the funny thing is, so I was making this joke about how like my family will officially cross over the old family threshold, as if we weren't already an old family, right? Because like I have a younger brother, and he's like he turned 29. I have another cousin who's born in December, and he will be turning 29. It's like, man, once you guys turn 30, we would have crossed. I mean, I think we already crossed the old family threshold. Everyone here is like already over 65. So like my parents and well, not all my aunt and uncles though, right? Because some of them are like early 60s and not quite over that 65 hump yet. But Lordy is just like, oh, we're getting up there. And then we're just a bunch of old people always complain about being tired. I know it's terrible, right? It's terrible. Shouldn't complain. Should always be grateful, right? I talked about that. Always be grateful about the fact that we get to live, but at the same time, when you hear those crink in the shoulders and in your neck, you just remind us like, man, it ain't easy. It ain't easy. But hey, when Christmas comes around, and we get to spend that good quality family time. And I hope that for all of you as well, right? And that all of us would have our quality family Christmas times, right? And one of the joys of life. I mentioned this in a past video about like, when like British Columbia, for instance, did the whole like vaccine passports. And so the vaccine passports are like, wait, you must be vaccinated if you want to like eat in a restaurant or something like that, right? Or you want to go to a social gathering place, right? So like hockey games, going to a restaurant or whatever, right? It's like you have to be vaccinated, and it's like for some people, and that the honest truth is that in my family there are quite a number of people who don't want to be vaccinated, and that's fine, right? I respect their choices, but of course that leads to the problem, right? Is that like, oh, then you can't go to a restaurant with your family because like, okay, people in my family are not vaccinated, and so as a matter of fact, I am the only one in my house who is, because I had to do it for work, right? I had to do it for work, basically, just the way it is. It's funny because like my parents are retired, so that wasn't an issue, right? And so like it's not like their workplace told them like you have to basically be vaccinated. And at first I was reluctant to be vaccinated, but it's like, okay, I have to do it for work, right? And it would suck to be unemployed again, because I was for a while after I left the security job, right? So I don't want to go back to that. So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll deal with it. But you know, because of stuff like that, like I can't go eat out with my family because of stuff like that, right? But come this Christmas season, hoping to have that, the, the kind of like the social gathering aspect of it. Like obviously I live with my family still, but like having like my cousins and stuff over and us doing Christmas together, and that's something that I hope that would be a great thing that we can have in this December, right? And I hope that's true for all of you as well, right? Whatever your circumstances are, have that Christmas spirit in your family. I really wish that for you. And that's also what I wish for myself, because I mean, we all desire that on some deeper level, right? That connection, you know. And that's what Christmas is about. I mean, that's what every holiday is about, really, right? I talked about that with Halloween too, but like every holiday is like that, right? That's what it's about. It's about us as people being together, because as humans, we are social creatures, and we were created for that social interaction. Right? We were designed that way. And so that's my hope for December. So that's all I have to say. This is gonna be a shorter video. I'm gonna end it basically soon. Just a reminder of how things are gonna go down this week. So Wednesday at 3 o'clock, we're gonna play a game on stream. Um, it'll be a lot more relaxed though, because it's more like just goofing around, hanging out, chatting with you guys, and stuff like that, right? So that's kind of the hope. And get back into that, and you want to warm up, of course. I know it's December, but you want to warm up, before you get into like a playthrough, right? On a stream playthrough, which I will start in January. So you want to get accustomed to it, right? Because it's gonna take a bit of work getting back into the motions, right? Of streaming games on this channel, because I haven't done that for like 3 months, right? So weird to think 3 months has already passed pretty quickly. But sorry, just itch on my nose. But 3 months already passed, so I think that's a good break. But we need to get back into it, right? You gotta stretch before you start running, right? Or any athletic activity, you gotta stretch. So that's gonna be Wednesday at 3 o'clock Pacific time, and then Thursday we have our Throwback Thursday video of Heroes of Might and Magic 2. And then Friday we will be finishing the Book of Kings this week instead of doing like our first Advent weekend. So, but that's just how it is, right? So, but with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out. Just listen to me rant about like hoping it'll be a good Christmas, because I'm hoping it is, not just for me but for all of us, right? But I'm hoping we all have a good Christmas. I hope you guys will come hang out with me for Christmas videos and Christmas podcasts, Christmas Bible reads, and you know some other Christmas idiocy in between. And so I hope you guys will come for that. But with that said, this is going to be the end of the stream. I will see you guys on Wednesday for our first game stream in a while. So hope you guys will come hang out for that. With that said, have a great rest of your day. God bless you. See you Wednesday.